thank you, audience, for your indulgence as we participate in these sessions today. I think it's been very, very energizing for all of us. It's been empowering, and hopefully it's given us some ideas that we can take back to our respective institutions, our day jobs, as it were. Some of us take it on over weekends as well, right? It's not just a day job. We thought perhaps the best way to close the session by today is to actually have a student come up here and speak to you about what it is. Because we've talked a lot about the barriers, we've talked a lot about the opportunities, we've talked about scaling, we've talked about successes. And as we were planning this with Danielle and with Ryan, and this idea came up, and we said, what if we had a student who would come and speak, tell you her story, going their way, huh? So, I'm going to introduce to you Melissa Flores. Melissa Flores is a graduate from our mechanical engineering program. She just graduated this past spring. She is currently an intern at Northrop Grumman Corporation, pursuing her master's degree. And I first met Melissa when she joined our 8 Square cohort as a transfer student. So, remarkable young lady, and I'm going to pass the microphone back to Melissa to tell her story. Melissa, take it away.
Thank you, everyone. Short, sorry. Pretty good. Even with heels. So, like Ramesh said, I'm a mechanical engineering graduate student currently. I'm in my first semester. I graduated with a bachelor's in mechanical engineering and also went in applied math back in May. My family immigrated from Mexico. And I grew up with my single mother, who only had a first grade background because she lived in a rural place in Mexico with 10 other siblings. So obviously I didn't really have much help in the education system growing up. I had an older sister who, she went through harder times than I did, not knowing this education system in this country, so she helped me a lot. I probably wouldn't be here without her. When I was 16 and a sophomore, I realized that I wasn't really learning what I wanted to learn in high school. I felt like I could do more with my time. There was no really robotics clubs or anything like that, any extracurriculars I could really participate in. So my sister helped me look up some tests, California Proficiency Exam tests, that allowed me to get out of high school early, basically get my high school diploma 2 years early. So at 16, I got my driver's license and I headed off to a community college where people would ask me, why aren't you in school? And then I tell them, I am in school. So I didn't know what I wanted to be at the time. I knew I was good at math and science, but I didn't know what engineering was at all. I had no experience with robotics or anything like that, like I know students have nowadays in high school. So I just took general classes, and I got my associates in liberal arts by the time I was 18. And then I started to apply to transfer. So I got accepted to UC San Diego as an aerospace engineering major. I had no idea what that was. I just knew that my sister's husband was going to CSUN as a mechanical engineering major. So I said, oh, engineering, I guess it sounds sort of like technology, so I guess I'll do that. After a year at UC San Diego, we had some financial issues. I always had financial issues growing up, but at that time it was more extreme. So I had to move back from Simi Valley, which is right next door, right outside of the LA area. So I moved back and started here at CSUN as a mechanical engineering major, since there's no aerospace, but there is an emphasis. But I started to get involved into robotics, so quickly I changed my emphasis to more robotics. So when I transferred here, I got an email about this grant program that they had just started. It was called AIM Squared, Attract, Inspire, Mentor, and Support Students. And it was just funded. It's an HSI STEM program. And I applied, I interviewed, and I was accepted into the first cohort. And through their mentorship, I was able to get a research position during the summer, which ended up lasting for 2 years. I worked in a thermofluids lab, and I got some good experience in the lab. They also motivated us to join clubs and be more active. It was one of the requirements. So I started going to ASME, American Society of Mechanical Engineering meetings, SHIP, Society of Hispanic Professional Engineering, and SWE, Society of Women Engineers. And I ended up being super active in all three. I was on the board of SWE, and I was on the board of ASME one year, and the next year I was the president, which was last year. And before I transferred here, I was completely introverted. I would never talk to anyone. I just did my homework, didn't do any extracurriculars. But by joining AIMS, it gave me a motivation and a reason to put myself out there and start to get to know people, do activities outside of my engineering classes. And for example, in ASME, we did a lot of outreach programs. This past year, a colleague and I began a robotics program at a local library. It's called the SMART program, where we invited K through 12 students, completely free, on Saturdays from 1 to 5, regular basis, come over and we'd help them build little robots from robotics kits that we bought. And we're hoping to continue it for the following years. In that way, I provided outreach to students K through 12 who may have not experienced robotics, or maybe they're interested but they didn't have the means to pay for robotics kits. And I know a lot of kids during the Christmas season, their parents saw them so excited about the robots that they ended up going and buying their kids those kits, and they might be the future engineers. So through my research, as I mentioned, I got a research position that lasted 2 years. So I got a lot of experience to put on my resume, which ended up leading to an interview with Northrop, and then an internship that I've been in for 14 months now. I've been interning there, and once I get my master's, I'll be a full-time employee there. So without AIMS, I wouldn't have been here. I wouldn't have gotten all that experience. I wouldn't have become the ASME president. And so I really owe the program that started just exactly when I transferred here by luck. After thinking that I wouldn't achieve anything because I had such financial problems in UCSD, I really thought I wasn't going to come back to school. But with their financial help and help getting a job, I'm now here today. Lastly, I'd just like to touch up on how hands-on CSUN is. As opposed to UC San Diego and other UCs, I know are more research-based. In my experience in San Diego, I didn't really have any hands-on experience in labs. It was mostly just lecture. But here at CSUN, all the lecture classes pretty much have their own lab component attached to them. That's a requirement. So you really get to know the topic and experience it in a real sense. Also, we have a senior design project that's required of every engineering student, and we have many to choose from. And since I like robotics, I chose the Intelligent Ground Vehicle, also known as IGV, which is a competition, an international competition held in Oakland University in Michigan every year in June. And it's a year-long senior design project. You form teams, and you basically design and build from scratch an autonomous robot that's supposed to go through a competition course all by itself with GPS and sensors all over it. I was the technical manager last year, and CSUN has a very good record. We've gotten either first or second place in the past 4 or 5 years now. Last year we slipped up and got second place. So next year, hopefully we'll get first. And finally, to conclude, I'm not only a graduate student here, but I've also been given the opportunity to teach a senior level mechanical engineering lab course. I got this because my research was in that lab, the thermofluids lab. So when I found out that a graduate student can indeed teach that class, because I had been TAing it for the past 2 years while I was working there, I thought, oh, it would be a good opportunity to learn how to be a professor, be on the other end of the spectrum. And so I talked to the chair of the department, I told him my experience, and he knew some of my background, and right now is my first semester teaching that lab course. And hopefully we'll continue to teach it while I'm a grad student. And it's really inspired me to maybe become a professor someday, so I'm looking to do my PhD, hopefully once I graduate from my master's. So just to conclude, I hope my story has sort of connected some of the topics that we talked about, because we talked about underrepresented minorities, Mexican background, females, doing research opportunities, mentoring programs, sort of a combination. I was just listening to all the stories and I was like, wow, I can relate to like all of this. So hopefully, my story just shows you that all these things that we talked about are very important and significant, and we really need to make a change to help other students as well, and I really think that we can do that. I'd like to thank you for your time, and thank you for being here.